must learn not to leave so long before I do this. Oh, what do I tell? How to be a person. Yes, words. Welcome to episode 13 of Merry Little Makes. My name is Mary. I am a maker, all-round creative and fibre enthusiast based in Bristol in the UK. If you're returning, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me. And if you are new here, thank you for checking out my little corner of the internet where we talk about all things fibre. I've got a lot to get through today because in classic me style, I haven't done this for ages. This is my biggest gap. I think it's been 8 months or so, something like that. I'm so sorry, it's been a really long time. Yeah, I, as always, justifications aside, it's just not been the right time to do it, and I've very purposefully left that space for myself to not feel like I have to fit in a particular schedule or anything like that. So hi again, it's been a really long time. I actually looked really quickly at the last episode I did, and it was right after Wonderful Wales, which was such a long time ago. So yeah, I've got some stuff to talk about. I'm obviously not going to try and talk about every single thing that I have made or purchased or anything like that. I'm just going to talk about recent finished objects, etc. And if you are new here, my podcast follows a pretty straightforward schedule. So I'm going to talk about finished objects, and then I'll talk about some whips, and I'll also talk about some plans, and I usually have a little chatter segment at the end if you'd like to stick around for that. I don't know if I'll have time for a chatter segment today because there's a lot of stuff to talk about. Yeah, so let's first of all kick off with what I'm wearing and get into finished objects. Okay, so just before I talk about finished objects, I also want to talk about what I'm drinking and what I am smelling, which is a segment I just felt like including today. So up here you will notice there's a candle back here. That is a candle from Great House Farm stores, which have been a constant in my house ever since I discovered them. They are two sisters who founded this beautiful candle making business. They moved to rural Wales from like quitting the rat race. It's a beautiful story and very inspirational and wholesome. And I actually used to work with one of the sisters, and they're just delightful people. So if you feel like you would like some inspiration to just slow down your life a little bit and like kind of stop and smell the flowers and just enjoy the moments a little bit more, they are a fantastic pair to follow. But they also create these incredible candles. I am a big fan of their heel candle, which is my absolute favourite. I have just run out, so I'll be ordering some more soon. But they also have they collaborate with British and UK potters to make each of their different pots for each of their different candles. This one is autumn, and I know it's not technically autumn right now, but I love this smell so much. It's just like a hug, and it's really cozy and not too overpowering, and it's just delightful. So I've got that on in the background, which is making my heart very happy. And then here in my Cobworks pottery mug is a breakfast cup. People ask me about this sometimes. I will link it in the show notes as well, but that's from Cobworks Pottery. You can find them on Etsy. That is just a breakfast tea because that's what I'm feeling like right now. Okay, so finished objects. I've got a few to talk about and they're all so exciting. So the first one is what I'm wearing. I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure that I had just cast this on last time, so I have actually finished this for a while, but I wanted to talk about it because it's just the most glorious, lovely, like joyful thing. So yeah, but I do have some comments around like yarn and fibre content and things, so let me just stand up quickly so you can see how long it is. So it's like a little bit below my natural waist. I self-drafted this myself and I wanted to test out a few things. So one is I did a folded collar. Now I'm gonna be really honest, I don't love it. I don't love a folded collar, but that's okay. And actually in this yarn, because I'll get to it in a minute, because this yarn isn't the sturdiest, I think it's a good thing that I did a folded collar. And I also wanted to teach myself lateral braids, so it's probably quite hard to see, but there is a little lateral braid running around the bottom of the collar, and then there's also another one that runs along the bottom of the yoke. And I did a circular yoke and circular increases on this one, which I don't ordinarily do. And I did also do some short rows at the back of the neck just to raise it up at the back to help it fit a little bit nicer. So there were a few things I learned that I was really happy about. I definitely need short rows to make things fit me the way that I want to, and so they're not like choking me. If you want more information around how short rows work and how the construction of that is useful for different like body shapes and stuff, then Jen of JP Knits has some fantastic resources to check out, and lots of good like highlights and her stories and things about short rows. But essentially speaking, because most people's bodies aren't super straight, you tend to have a little bit more space in the back of your neck, so your head doesn't come out of your body. Like if I was side on, my head doesn't come straight up, it's actually sitting, my neck sits slightly forward on my body, which means that if you just knit a tube and then a hole at the top for your head, what happens is if your neck's coming out this way, this is the facing forward, then you kind of cut off the front of your neck. So if you've ever made a sweater and not put short rows and found that once you finished it, it kind of feels like it's choking you a little bit, that might be why. So I experimented with some short rows. I also did lateral braids, which I'd never done before, which were really, really fun. I enjoyed them a lot, had a great time doing those. We'll probably do them again because they're really good fun. And then yeah, the yarn was just the most joyful thing. It was so much fun to knit, and I ended up with about 6 grams left. So I'm really happy I managed. This is a 3 skeins, I think it was 3 single 100-gram skeins, so a little bit under 300 grams of fingering weight yarn. I knit it up on 3mm needles, so it's a tight-ish gauge. It's a little bit looser than I would knit for socks, let's say, but yeah, and it's delightful. I did originally call it my popsicle sweater because my husband referred to it, because the yarn was called popsicle, but then my husband saw it and said, oh my god, it looks like that funfetti cake you get in the States, and I was like, that's exactly what it is. So it's now my funfetti jumper, that's what I'm calling it, because it just really reminds me of funfetti. The yarn is from Cheshire Yarns, I think they're called now. Used to be in the Crochet Corner, but that's not their name anymore. I will make sure that it's on the screen for you so that it's the right thing. But yeah, I love it. I've worn it a fair amount. However, I will say I don't make very much with merino. Now this is non-superwash merino, but it is still merino, which means it's got a very low micron count, which means it's very soft. And so the individual fibres are really, really fine, and it's very, very soft wool. So most people have kind of heard of merino as a breed because it's one of the most popular, and that's because it's incredibly, incredibly soft. I will say though that these lovely buttery soft yarns pill like nothing I have ever experienced. It's so upsetting. Like I specifically didn't shave this at all, but you can probably see like the level, like it's just wild. Like, look at that. So I was sort of hoping that it would pill a little bit when I first started wearing, and then it would like calm down, and it just hasn't. It pills all the time. So it looked beautiful when I first finished it, and it does still look lovely, and I still get loads of compliments on it. But yeah, it's quite a lot of maintenance to stop it looking a little bit, what's the word? Like pilling's fine, like knitwear pills, that's just the deal, but there's a level where it just looks really shabby. yeah, so I'm not super thrilled about that, but I did buy this yarn very much as an impulse purchase because of the colour, which isn't something I usually do, although I have done that for another project I'll show you later. But I learnt my lesson a little bit that I'm not going to be making anything in 100% merino in a hurry because it's just not hardy enough for me. I don't have a lot of knitwear garments, which means the ones that I have I wear an awful lot, and so I really need them to be hardy and to hold up. Like, this is not something I can see wearing. Like, I don't think it's going to last an incredible amount of time, which, given the amount of knitting it was, feels a little bit disappointing. So that is my first finished object. It's been finished for a while, so it's more of a what I'm wearing. And then, in case anyone is interested, I'm also wearing my Little Wings socks, which were my first ever sock pattern, which I'm very, very proud of to this day. And these are made in Mondim, which I'll talk more about later. Okay, so that's what I'm wearing. Whew. The next finished object, and I apologise because they're a bit dirty, but the next finished object are my second sample pair of body socks. I think I had finished one of these, possibly in my previous, I don't actually remember, but this is my latest sock pattern that's come out, the body socks. They are 100% colour work from toe up, and I'm incredibly proud of them. The test knitters who made them also seemed to really enjoy them, which I'm very happy about, and yeah, I just think they're really cool. And they have this lovely leaf slash heart pattern, but yeah, they're meant to look like Bodhi leaves, which is a for me a big symbol of my like Sri Lankan culture, because I'm half Sri Lankan, in case you didn't know that. So those are my Bodhi socks. They are made from some scraps I had. So the burgundy maroon colour is Shapia Metropolis in the colour Milan, I believe, or Milano maybe. And then the white is, I think the white is an undyed sock yarn, and I can't off the top of my head remember what it is, but I'll put it on the screen because I do know what it is. I've got it written down somewhere, so I'll pop that on the screen for you. Those are available now. I have 4 sock patterns currently available. They are all available from Ravelry or in my shop on meryllittlemakes.com if you're interested, but obviously zero pressure. Okay, so the next finished object is hand spun, and I'm very very excited about it. So I had a bat of hand dyed fibre from Sealy McWheely, and it was in the colourway Attack on Titan. Now, if you don't know, Attack on Titan is an incredible anime series that my husband and I are both very, very keen on. It features a voice actor who we both love, Matthew Mercer, who is also a dungeon master, and we both play D&D. There's just lots of good crossover. Anyway, so I saw this bat and was like, oh, the colours are amazing. And so I decided to spin it up, and then I chain plied it, which I hadn't done, or I had done once before, but it hadn't gone very well. So I decided to spin it up and then chain ply it and sort of see what happened. And then I made a hat, just a simple ribbed hat, and honestly I'm obsessed with this thing. Like, look at it, it's so cool. So it's got some pops of like purples and maroon in there. There's a lot of flesh colours, which if you've watched Attack on Titan you will know the references of that, and lots of lime green, which kind of references the magic in the anime and like the colours that the magic sort of takes. And then yeah, lots of green and brown to represent like the forests and the places that they're running around saving the world. It's super stretchy because it's ribbed. It's just a 2x2 rib so I cast on the brim and then just knit until I thought I was basically out of yarn, and then I just did a bit of a rapid decrease at the top. So yeah, I'm absolutely thrilled with this hat. I think it's so fun. It reminds me, like in a really good way, of something that like Mrs. Weasley would make for her kids. Yeah, so I'm a big fan of it. It's really cute. My husband also really likes it, so it's kind of a shared hat. But yeah, I'm a big fan of it. It's been coming out with us for dog walks and stuff a lot. I'm like, yeah, I really like it a lot. It can be worn slouchy as well if you're a slouchy hat fan. I don't tend to wear hats this way, but you totally could. Yeah, I'm really proud of it. The yarn, I had just enough to make a teeny tiny little like headband that's about this big, which I use just to like take my makeup off and stuff. So yeah, I used up every single scrap of this handspun, which also made me very happy. And yeah, cute little handspun hat. That's another finished object. Okay, so this next one I have shown on the podcast before, I'm sure, and unlike this one that was finished quite a long time ago, this one has just been finished like in the last week, and I am obsessed with it. Obsessed. So this beautiful thing, it looks like it's really heavy. It's not. Oh my god, it smells so good. It's so sheepy. I haven't blocked it yet, and I do need to, but this is my unspun cardigan slash jacket, because I'll be honest, I've worn it just out quite a lot. So yeah, I'm very proud. It's completely self-drafted. It's simple ribbing with a raglan, quite a deep raglan, and then a double knit button band all the way around. And the way that I wanted it to be quite square on the bottom, so I actually knit the button band, like the button band on the bottom first from here all the way around, and then I attached this one all the way around to here. So it has got like a seam here and here. I did buttonholes in my double knitting, so it's like a knit buttonhole, which I'm very proud of. And they are super neat and lovely. And I got a, I followed a tutorial from Rust Knitwear for those, which was really, really helpful. So if you're looking for a good tutorial on how to put buttonholes into a double knit button band, can recommend. That's just on YouTube. I'll link it in the show notes. Yeah, so this, the way that I did this is essentially I cast on the number of stitches for the back up to the raglan point, and then I increased from nothing on the front. So instead of, for a sweater, you would, you know, create your neckband, and then you would have 4 points, slightly shorter spaces between the arms, slightly longer spaces for the front and the back, and then you would just do your raglan increases at those points. For a cardigan, I did this whole thing flat. So I didn't do the whole thing flat actually. I picked up the arms and then knit them in the round. So I cast on here, and then I knit back and forth, and as I knit back and forth I increased on the front to create this fabric. So that was all created from zero up here, if that makes sense. It worked really, really nicely. I'm really proud of how these raglan increases look on the ribbing as well. Like, it's nothing groundbreaking, it just looks really nice. And then on the sleeves, I kept them quite big and chunky all the way down, and then I did some decreases. Let me see if I can find them. Actually can't. There we go. So you basically have to look for where the ribbing like stops being normal. So that's where the decreases are. And I just did some decreases towards the end, and then a slightly rapid decrease for a cuff, but the cuffs are still quite big. So yeah, I'm super, super happy with this, and it is big enough that I can wear it kind of over other things, which was the point. I wanted it to be like a really big warm hug that I could potentially wear by itself. Sorry, it's going to be rambly today because I've entirely forgotten how to do this. Unsurprisingly, because it's been like 8 months. So, try not to like destroy everything around me while I'm doing this. Oh, I've got tea there. I should probably have that as well. There we go. yeah, so it's been really cold in the UK and I've been wearing this quite a lot recently and I am loving it. It's so warm and cozy. So just like lengthwise, it's about the same, a little bit longer than my jumper. And I do need to block it because like this is not straight really at the moment, but I love it so much and I wanted to wear it immediately. So it's been finished for about a week and I've worn it twice, and yeah, and I got a lot of compliments. I wore it into the office on a cold day and one of my friends said, she just gave me this funny look and I said, what's that? And she went, you made that, didn't you? And I said, yeah. And she said, I always know because when you've got good knitwear, I know you've made it and then I know I can't get it, which I thought was really sweet. So yeah, this is knit out of Nutidin. If you've watched some of my previous episodes, you'll know I'm not a huge fan of Nutidin from a like people attitude perspective. I feel like the way that they treat their customers is not ideal, and they contribute a little bit to a kind of scarcity consumption model that I don't love, which is weird because the way that they make their yarn is actually really, really great and they're utilising traditional methods. But yeah, it's a bit of an odd one for me. It makes me feel a bit icky and I can't quite put my finger on why, so I've stopped purchasing from them quite a long time ago, but I've still got a fair chunk to get through because it does go a really long way. Yeah, so make of that what you will. I do, however, love unspun yarn, and I'll talk about a plan for a future project with a different brand in a little bit. But yeah, this is Nutidin in, I think it's the colour Medvind, but they don't remake any of their colours, so you wouldn't be able to get it anymore. And I think it's an undyed batch, which I actually really love, and it does feel quite different to the I can't remember the name, Saligit, I think, which was the golden colour that I made a tulip sweater in, which I again still wear all the time, and I do really love all of my unspun stuff. It's incredibly lightweight for what it is and so warm and versatile, so I'm a big fan of unspun yarn. The one thing I did do in this cardigan, which I didn't really need to, and I've talked about this before, but if you are a person who suffers with any kind of body image issues, whether that is full-blown body dysmorphia or anything else, it can really mess you up when you are designing stuff and making stuff for your own body. So I made this and it's delightful. It's everything I want it to be, but I'm going to turn around here. You might be able to see there's a little extra gusset in here. There's like a triangle piece, which when it's done up is fine. When it's not done up, it makes the back of the sweater like kick right out and looks a bit weird. So I do have to have it done up all the time, which is fine because that was how I designed it anyway, like that was the intention, so that doesn't really bother me. But this little guy here, I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, so there's like an extra couple of increases in the back. That was me making space, making an amount of space for my body that was not required. So anyway, that was just, I wanted to point out, like, it's not perfect. It's a self-drafted pattern. I'm not planning on like releasing this or anything. It was just something I wanted to experiment with for myself. I'm really, really proud of it. I will be blocking it very soon, but I wanted to wait until I finish a couple of other projects and do a bunch of blocking together. And I love it. It's really warm, it's really cozy, and I'm very proud of it. So that is my unspun cardigan. Okay, whew. One more finished object to talk about and then we'll be on to whips. And this is really exciting. It's a test knit and I'm thrilled. So I have been following and supporting Harper, otherwise known as Disyarning, for a really long time. I think they're a fantastic designer. They also have very similar compassionate and political kind of bent to me. So we get on like a house on fire. They also tested my Nesty socks, which is one of my previous pattern to the Bodhi socks. And they were messing around with a new design and they called them the Floral Night Socks. And as soon as I saw them, I was like, oh my God, I need to test these. I need these in my life. And so I applied and they very sweetly accepted to have me as one of their test knitters. This is also not blocked, and I do need to block it because colourwork socks they need that like moment of blocking to help just relax all the stitches into place. But this is my finished Floral Night sock, and I am obsessed. Okay, so let me just do it this way so that you can see. I made one small mod, which is that I put an anatomical toe on it instead of the toe design that Harper had created, and the way that they've done it is fine. And I actually did the toe, I actually knit up the toe in its entirety the way that they'd written it in the pattern, just to make sure that like the pattern made sense, and because I'm a test knitter, like I wanted to make sure I was experiencing that, and it was all absolutely fine. But I decided I wanted to play around with anatomical toes, so it does mean that the second one of these is going to have the opposite toe, and I have to remember to do that, otherwise I'll end up with 2 left socks, which is maybe the con of anatomical toes. So yeah, it's a really straightforward thing. The way that I do it is I cast on a number of stitches here. For this one I actually didn't, but I kind of hacked it to make it look like I did. You increase on both sides for a couple of rounds, and I didn't do that. I didn't increase on this side at all, and it made this like very pronounced point on this end, which is obviously not what anyone's feet look like, so don't do that. But then after you've increased on a couple of sides for a couple of rounds, you then stop increasing on one side and only increase on the other side, and so you create this lovely shape where this would be where your big toe sits, and then this would be where your little toe sits, which for most people makes more sense for their foot. So I've just been playing with that for my own experimentation purposes. Then we have these lovely charts. So you've got a little floral band, and that's kind of the whole toe, and then we've got all these amazing swords which go all the way up the foot and all the way up the leg, then flowers again at the top, and then some ribbing. But the little sneaky surprise amazing thing is that Harper has spent time designing out a specific gusset for every single sock size. There are, I think, 4 different widths that you can do this in. I did the first one because I have very narrow feet. And look at this little gusset. Look at it. Oh my gosh. Isn't it so cute? So that's on the bottom of your foot, which is super cool. So there you go. So that's the gusset there, and that sits on the bottom of the foot. And then there's a really classic heel flap. I had some issues with the heel flap, basically just because I decided to try and do it at like midnight, which was stupid. And then I came back to it the next day and went, oh, that's how you do it. So yeah, really straightforward. Basically ribbed heel flap. And then there's a chart also, sword chart for the back of the leg. And yeah, they're just really delightful. I'm obviously on a bit of an all over colourwork sock kick at the moment, but I'm really, really happy with these. I think they're super cute. And there's also a floral design for the sole. So yeah, they're super, super cute. These are also made in Mondim, which is one of my favourite sock yarns. To be honest, I mean, you guys know, I make a lot of socks. If you're new here, I am a prolific sock knitter. They are the thing I make more than anything else. They have always been the thing I make more than anything else, and Mondim is just glorious. There are only numbers, not colours, which is kind of annoying, but this is the yarns I made it in. So this is pale grey and a kind of khaki, very yellowy green. And I didn't want to do something that was like super neon-y contrast for mine, and I'm really happy with them. I think they fit my like general sock aesthetic. Although I do love using like crazy colours for socks, and using socks as the place you can kind of experiment with ridiculous yarns that you maybe wouldn't want to put on your body. Yeah, so I'm really, really happy with those. Okay, so I'm gonna go turn my Discord sounds off in case you can hear that in the background, and we will talk about whips. Okay, the light is really going now, so I apologise if I look a bit funny. I'm gonna drink some more tea before I forget and it gets really cold. It's quite cold. I might heat it up again in a minute. Okay, So, whips. Obviously I need to do my second floral night sock, so that will be a whip, but I haven't cast it on yet, so technically not a whip. I'm also going to go over some stuff that I've been working on for a little while, that I haven't talked about in a little while, but first of all, I'm going to talk about some spinning, because why not? I have this beautiful braid, which I got, look at it, which I got as part of a package, an amazing package from Kat and Steph of Woolen Witch. And it's just like, oh, it's just amazing. This is 100% Corriedale, and it is in the colourway Tea Garden, which I think is super cute. It's like, it's actually showing up fairly true on camera, I would say. So it's got this like really deep teal and then this pale like pinky lavender, glorious. And then I brought my whole e-spinner because why not? So this, there we go, is how it's spinning up, and I think it's beautiful. Look at it. So it's got kind of barber poling between those two colours, but I am also going to potentially chain ply this, and I'm really interested to see how it plies up. And then the plan is I'm going to be making a hat out of it for a friend of mine. And yeah, I think it's really, really cute. And Corriedale's amazing. It just has this luster about it. Not quite as far as like a BFL would, but it's really quite shiny. Once it's spun up, it's really beautiful. So I'm very excited about that. And then, this is not the most exciting whip in the world, but it's in this really cute little bag. This was actually a free present with some makeup that I bought not too long ago, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm obsessed. Like, beautiful sock knitting bag. So that's what it's become. This is also Mondim, which is this lovely, like, it's brown, but it's kind of pinky. It's like a pinky brown. It's really, really pretty colour. And I'm just making a vanilla sock, but I am playing with anatomical toes. So here we go. So this is cast on, this is 2mm needles, so these are dinky little needles, and this is casting on 16, increasing on both sides for 2 repeats. So increase, increase, resolve, resolve, increase, increase, resolve, resolve. So increased of 8 stitches on both sides, and then stop increasing on one side, and then just increase 4, so 2 on each side of this, all the way down on the other side, and it fits beautifully, I will say. This is a 64 stitch sock on 2mm needles. I only use 2mm if I'm doing single strand socks. I don't use 2mm very often, but I do really like the fabric it creates, but they're just so tiny. I can bend them a little bit too easily. I don't hold them that hard, but like I might sit on them or it gets stuck in my bag or something, and then they're very flimsy needles comparatively. So yeah, that's that. I have 2 slightly longer term whips that I wanted to show you. So I have my Friendship half and half, which has my beautiful mini skeins that Kelsey of Knitting the Cubby dyed up for us, and I just wanted to show you where I've got to. It's not very much, it doesn't look like much, but it's long. So I'm using the remainder of my charcoal Holst Super Soft, which I have on a cone, as my like secondary colour. So I'm holding that together with everything just to kind of bring it together. But look how cute that is. Oh, it's gonna be great. So I've done 4 stripes of this orange, and then I've done 4 stripes of this like blue, yellow and white, hand dyed, and then there's like a lilac one, which is my character's colour, which is next. So yeah, I'm just striping those together, and then I'm going to see how much I have left of each colour and maybe do like 3 stripes next, or 2 stripes next, depending on how much I have left of each one. And I'm just going to see how far I get, basically, and then finish it off in the graphite. And I might do that one as a single triangle instead of the folded over version of the half and half. If you go back to my, I think it is my previous episode, I talk about my half and half striped half and half triangle wrap or something. It's like the longest, most unnecessary name. I did the full version, which is a square that you can then fold in half, but it's a lot, and it's also just a lot to wear, like bulk wise. I do wear it a lot, but I like the idea of having one that's just half a triangle, which is half the amount of bulk in case it's not quite as cold. So that's my friendship half and half, which I adore. Just quietly working on that. Like, it's a good thing to just sort of take downstairs and be watching TV with, or like if I need to not be concentrating too hard. Then I have my husband's chaos socks. So this is a load of sock scraps. Oh, let me take my booth lights. If you don't know about these lights, game changer, especially if you're knitting on dark things, which I foolishly decided, my first garment pattern, I decided to make a version for myself as the first sample in black because I'm an idiot. So these at night are very, very helpful. Can recommend. You can get them, you can get all sorts of different brands and stuff, but they're really good. So these are the chaos socks. So in here, just try not to let them fall out. Got lots and lots of different sock scraps. So I've got, this was a Christmas mystery colourway that I got. This was a colourway that I bought from Somerset Yarns, I think, which is mermaidy and cool. I've got some Nervous Fibre in here. I've got some Dotty Woolco self-striping in there. I've got some Fibre Fox, that's a Star Wars limited edition colourway. All sorts. There's some stranded. That's some stranded Naughty List, I think. And then I've got a few commercials, that's Sheepier. Yeah, so all sorts of fun and good things. And then we are rolling dice. So we roll 1 dice for how many rows and 1 dice for the colour. There are 12, I think 12 colours total. And he just periodically, when I get through the list from the last time, he just rolls me a bunch more dice and then I write them down and then go through it. So it's absolutely, it is literal chaos. I mean, this is not a set of colours that I would ever put together, but that's fine. And I'm just making a big long sock tube, and it will have to be long because he's got big feet. And then I'm just going to cut it in half and graft some toes and heels into it. Very straightforward. So that's the chaos tube, I should say. It's not even chaos socks really, it's a chaos tube. But that is that. Okay, and before I talk about my final whip, which I'm very excited about, I am also going to talk about a design, it's not a design fail, but it's like part of the process of designing. So I've recently completed my body socks, I love them, and I decided I'm going to make some accessories for them. So I've already written up a pattern for a couple of different things, but I started casting something on as a sample and realised the colours just don't contrast enough. It's really tiny, so you probably won't be able to see it too much. It's got a provisional cast on, which is that white around the edge that would come out eventually. But there you go. So that is the beginning of a leaf, but it's really hard to see because the two colours are just way too close to each other, which I didn't really realise they would be that similar. So this is Holst Super Soft in Larch, which I love. And this is, if I remember rightly, Woolly Knit, yes. It's a Woolly Knit 100% British wool cone in mustard. Now when you hold them together like this, you wouldn't think that they are so close together that they wouldn't work in colour work, and I think there are probably examples where they would be fine, but because it's socks and therefore quite intricate colour work, like single stitch definition stuff, it just didn't work. They were too far away from, like, too close together, and so you just couldn't see. And actually what's interesting is, this probably doesn't show up on camera, there is a fair amount of green in here if you look closely, and there is a fair amount of yellow in here. So I think they're just like a little bit too close together as far as single stitches, which is a shame. They're both aren't they beautiful colours? Oh, delightful. So I will be making some other socks out of them for a friend shortly. But I cast it on, it didn't work, and I started ripping it out before I started filming, and then was like, oh, I should talk about that. So if you are in the process of making something or designing something or just working something out, and you had an idea and you thought it was going to be great, and you try it and it doesn't work, that's fine. Like, the beauty of knitting, and one of the things I think that knitting has actually helped me get better at, like in my life in general, is if it doesn't work, just rip it out and do something else. Like, it's fine. Like, understanding and being willing to say this isn't working is a thing that I think adults especially are quite bad at. And if it's a skill that you can get better at, like, it will really, really help you. And it's one of those lovely ways that knitting has helped other parts of my life, particularly designing has taught me an awful lot of things for other parts of my life, which I'm very, very grateful for, and this is definitely one of them. So, teeny philosophical moment there, but I just wanted to talk about that for a second. Okay, it's gonna be the longest episode ever, I'm so sorry. Last whip is my neon raglan. So I, similarly to when I bought this, but not quite the same, I knew that I wanted a bright block colour, single colour, simple jumper that I could wear with all sorts of things. And I was pretty sure I wanted like a red or an orange. And I found this colour on Woolly Knit. I'm a big Woolly Knit fan, if you aren't already aware. The two brands that I've probably come back to the most is Holst Super Soft and Woolly Knit. I come back to them a lot. Yeah, I saw this colour online, and I'm not gonna lie, I didn't realise quite how bright it was online, but I'm not mad at it. So this is neon orange. It's called neon orange. That's a pretty true, it's like reflecting off my face. That's quite a true colour representation. It's probably the tiniest bit more orange than it's showing. It might be showing up a bit more red on screen. So bright, like traffic cone unnecessary bright, and I love it. And so again, self-drafted a sweater. I'm in self-drafting mode, it seems. So this is it's so bright, oh my gosh. This is the sweater that I have self-drafted. Again, it's not been blocked, and I do have a little mistake just here which I need to fix, but that's okay. That's just where I resolved my short rows, and for some reason I resolved that one, just this side wrong, but this side's fine. So it's just a very straightforward raglan. I did a lot of short rows on this one. I went all the way around to here with the short rows, which, so if I hold it straight, you can kind of tell that like the back of the neck is sitting up quite a lot higher, which should mean it fits beautifully. I've knit the whole body now, and I've actually done a little split hem. This will relax out quite a lot once it's blocked as well. And the back hem is very slightly longer than the front one. And then I've just picked up this sleeve and started knitting on that today. So yeah, that's going to be just a very straightforward raglan, but I'm really, really happy with it. And like, come on, is that not the happiest colour you've ever seen in your life? Bam! Really excited about that. So there you go. That is my final whip. All right, we're not going to do chatter today, but I am quickly going to talk about plans. Okay, I do have one more sweater downstairs that I should have brought up and I didn't, which is my 7 PM tee, which I'm actually making into a pullover jumper. I will talk about that probably next episode because I do want to finish it, and I'm very, very close. It was a test knit and I just didn't manage to finish in time, which is a shame. It's beautiful. It's the most complicated thing I have ever made in my life and arguably the most complicated thing I will make for some time because it was a lot. but I love it and I'm very excited to have it and wear it. So yes, I'll show it on another episode. But I was talking about unspun, and so I have two things that I wanted to talk about that I have plans to make. The first one is not an unspun project, but my friend Kelsey, who I talked about earlier with the friendship shawl, she recently released her first garment pattern, and it is a stunner, and it's called the Chained Oblivion. And I'm going to show you the picture on the front page of the pattern, because look how beautiful that is, my goodness. So it's a cardigan, it's got this like lovely moss stitch everywhere, and then it's got these amazingly intricate cables, and I'm obsessed. I don't quite have the like space on my needles to do it right now, but as soon as my neon jumper is finished, that's going to be the next garment that I pick up, and I already have a plan for the colour, and I think I'm going to do it in a royal blue, and I'm very excited about it. So that is a future plan that's not too far away, which is why the pattern's just here to keep looking at me. And then finally, I have another plan, which is thoroughly in the opposite direction, to make a really neutral but super wearable jumper in unspun. So like I said, kind of fell out of love with Newton for various reasons, and I was looking for another good unspun yarn. And I've wanted to knit some things out of Wool and Twine, Eula from Wool and Twine's yarn, for a long time. And then finally she was coming back out with unspun, and I was like, you know what? That's what I'm gonna spend my yarn budget on. So I decided to buy some plates of her unspun, and you guys, it is, I'm unbelievably excited about this. Like, first of all, can we talk about how pretty that is? Oh. Now, the most neutral you can possibly get is beige. But I don't care, I love it. And actually, I have a really big space in my wardrobe for another couple of like staple, easy, kind of go with everything, but sophisticated jumpers. And this unspun, by the way, feels so different to Newton. It is pillowy. I don't know, it's really hard to describe. And I think it's also the fibre content of this, which, if you're interested, is a blend of local sheep breeds such as, I'm not going to be able to say any of these because they're all German, Coburger Fuschaf. I'm assuming that's Merino, maybe. Merino Landschaft and Bergschaft. Yeah, it's just stunning. It's absolutely, I'm obsessed with it. I want to use it as a pillow. Oh my gosh. So I held my Newton for the cardigan and for my tulip jumper. I held it double by itself, and it's beautiful and it's held up really, really well. But I can also already tell that they probably would last longer if I made them with mohair. And also the drape of the fabric is, well, there isn't much drape. Holding it double means that it's quite like rigid's not quite the right word, but like it just holds itself where it's put, which is great. But I think for this jumper I would like it to be a little bit more drapey. So I'm thinking about knitting out on a slightly looser gauge with mohair. So maybe like a 5mm gauge. We'll see, because I'm going to do some swatching. I've also already found the perfect mohair for it, which I will be sourcing from No Frills Knitting, which is the lovely Meg in Bristol. If you aren't aware of that shop, she's got a great both physical and online shop, can recommend. So yeah, I don't know if you can hear that bike. I apologise. We have a absolutely horrible neighbour who loves to ride his dirt bike around the park behind my house, even though he shouldn't really do that. Scare the children. Anyway, so yeah, I have plans to make that. That will be another self-drafted pattern, I suspect, because I'm just starting to get the hang of like how things fit me. Who knows? though, because I also have an idea of maybe using it for a garment pattern. We'll see. I had this plan for my first garment pattern that it was going to be fingering weight, because I do love a fingering weight garment. Like, they're just very versatile, being very thin, you can layer them with lots of different things and they kind of still work, but they do take a really long time. So I don't know, there's a part of me that maybe wants to go slightly bigger in the weight of yarn that I use, but I also love the fact that with fingering weight you can get much smaller increments of sizes, in case that might be useful for people. I don't know, there's lots to think about. Yeah, so that's everything. It's a lot to talk through. I'm not going to go into any chatter because I'm at 51 minutes and there's not going to be much editing out of this, so who knows. But thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I will try and make some more moving forward, and maybe not leave 8 months but before the next one. If you want to look at any show notes, they will be available. They're all available on my website, so there'll be a link in the description and you'll be able to go and view them on the website. I do that just because it's a little bit easier for me to kind of put everything that I want to in the show notes and make sure I'm crediting everybody as much as I want to, because we have a character count limit on YouTube. But yeah, I think that's probably everything for today. Thank you so much for joining me, and as always, move slow and make things.